just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, in walks the urban penguin.
Hello and a really big warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name is Andrew Mallett, and today we're going to be looking at a command you've probably never heard of, but hopefully you will never forget. We'll be taking a look at namei, or name to inode, but don't worry too much about the name. You're going to understand how we use it when we dive into the command line of our Rocky 9.5 system. Who's up to join me? And here we are on my glorious Pixel Playground, a Pixel Playground that is Rocky Linux 9.5. And we're going to be looking at a glorious command, as I say, you may well have never come across, namei, or name to inode. But there's no point talking about it. The best way to understand it is to start using it. So tell me, everyone, are we ready? Are our fingers ready? Then let's start. We can begin using the RPM command. So RPM -QF to query a file and look at /bin/namei. When we look at this, we can see then that it comes from pretty much a standard package, util Linux, so you shouldn't have to install it. It's going to be there on your system. So now that we know that we have the command, and I did use it there with /bin/namei, so why don't we go through and investigate what is actually happening with that path? So if I use namei, and I can go through and look at then the file /bin/namei. I'm saying the file, but really it's the full path. But we can see then the file I was targeting, /bin/namei. We went to the root directory and then entered the bin directory, which was a link. So I followed the link to USR bin. I went into USR, I went into bin, and finally we found namei. So we can traverse the complete path and see the data. But it's much more sensible doing a long listing so we can navigate through the permissions and start looking at the ownership. But if I only wanted to see the ownership, I could use lowercase o. And if I only wanted to see the permissions, I could use -m. But it kind of makes sense to me that we use the -l, so we've got the long listing of our complete path. There is also an option -x where we could then go through and show details about mount points, but it's not appropriate where we're looking at this on our bin directory. So let's clear the screen with Control and L, and let's take a look at debugging permissions. We've seen then following our symbolic link, but let's go through and debug permissions and perhaps even missing files. So if I go through and use namei, and we look at var www html and then the index.html page, we can see then the file or path we are targeting. We go to root var www html. We can navigate the whole structure, but we get to a stage where we can't find the index page. Well, we could look at a long listing. I don't think it's going to help us too much. If the page isn't there, the page isn't there. But we can see then that we have permissions all of the way through. We are picking up permissions through others, as everything is owned by root and group owned by root, but we just don't have that index page. So we can easily fix the problem. Let's go through and echo the word hello, and we can pipe it through to sudo and t. We'll obviously need permissions to write into that directory, and we can then go through and write to the index page. We can just use escape and dot to bring up that last argument, so we don't need to type the path again. But now as I go through and investigate with namei, we can see we've got the permissions all of the way through, and we can see that I still pick up read permissions to the file through others.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @the Urban Penguin.